Other political parties may have talked more about civil rights, but the Democratic Party has surely done more about civil rights.
For some, Hubert H. Humphrey exists only as a bronze statue outside Minneapolis City Hall, or as the namesake of a stadium from the past, or a public policy school from the present. But in July of 1948, he was changing the direction of American politics.
Up until this 1948 Democratic Convention, the Democratic Party had never fully endorsed civil rights.
Columbia University professor Sam Friedman is the author of Into the Bright Sunshine, The Young Hubert Humphrey and the Fight for Civil Rights, a new book looking back 75 years at Humphrey's pivotal speech at the 1948 convention.
Harry Truman wanted a civil rights plank that had vague, fuzzy language so that the Southern wing could say, this lets us have states' rights, which was their euphemism for the Jim Crow system.
The Minnesota Historical Society has a color amateur film of Humphrey at that 1948 convention. It's silent, but audio recordings have survived.
My friends, to those who say that we are rushing this issue of civil rights, I say to them, we are 172 years late.
He seems happy-go-lucky in the film, but Humphrey was under extreme pressure from people who feared that his rhetoric and the civil rights plank he was pushing would divide the party.
Truman wrote in his diary he was a crackpot. One of Truman's top floor managers at the convention went up to Humphrey before the speech and said, if you do this, your career is over.
Humphrey would go on to be a U.S. senator, vice president, and presidential candidate. But at the time of that convention, he was a 37-year-old Minneapolis mayor with very little national buzz.
So it took an incredible taste for risk and an incredible reservoir of idealism to deliver the speech Humphrey did, because he knew it was a mission, but the question was it a suicide mission, politically speaking?
The time has arrived in America for the Democratic Party to get out of the shadows of states' rights and to walk forthrightly into the bright sunshine of human rights.
Some Southern delegates did walk out of the convention and formed the Dixiecrat Party, but Humphrey had managed to push Harry Truman and the Dems in a new direction.
Once the Democrats embrace civil rights, they become the kind of party we recognize now. This multiracial coalition very much oriented towards the rights of racial and religious and now sexual minorities.
Now, Professor Friedman pointed out back then, conventions had real drama. 60 million people were tuned in on the radio, 10 million on TV, wondering how that battle over the civil rights plank was going to end. Kent?
When live TV was live and you didn't know what would happen.
Exactly.